Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zach Lee, back bringing some more NBA news and updates. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, but before we get into the video, you guys already know the drill. Go ahead and absolutely destroy that like button as it does help the channel grow. Let's see if we can reach our goal of 3,000 likes for this video. And I know guys, in the last video I made, I said that I'd be doing a live stream Q&A today, but when I said that, I completely forgot that I have other obligations that I do need to fill tonight. So with that being said, I will be doing a Q&A tomorrow night, Wednesday, September, what is that, like 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern, which means like 3 o'clock in Cali, like all that other stuff. Bottom line is, I'll be going live, so make sure that you guys are paying attention to the channel if you don't want to miss out. But with all of that being said, now let's just take a look at everything that we have to talk about today. Lego. First up in the news, with training camp set to get underway for NBA teams next week and the preseason scheduled to start in just a couple of weeks, we are now officially in the home stretch of the offseason. For the most part, teams have trimmed down their rosters and made all of the moves they could make and are now ready to see how they fare in this new and exciting age of basketball that we are about to enter. However, just because teams may have their rosters set right now doesn't mean that will be the case after the season starts, as when front offices and coaching staffs get a good look at their team and gauge their potential for the 82-game season, it may become clear that adjustments to the roster must be made if they want to advance their standings in their respective conference. And according to reports, there is no team that feels this way more than the Miami Heat do right now, as we got reports out saying that while a trade won't happen before the season starts, that the Miami Heat still very much have Chris Paul on their radar, but they just want to see how good they are without him before reopening the trade discussion that they already had with the OKC Thunder early in the summer about acquiring the 8-time All-Star. Here's exactly what NBA insider Shams Charania had to say when he reported this in his article yesterday. The Heat have a high level of interest in Oklahoma City's Chris Paul entering the NBA season, league sources said. Paul had a shared strong mutual interest in ending up in Miami after he got traded to the Thunder, but both sides could not agree to a deal, and now OKC and Paul are prepared to enter training camp with CP3 in the role of veteran star and leader. Paul has 3 years and $124 million left on his deal. Miami will likely elect to see how it starts the season before engaging a new pursuit of Paul, which would take several large contracts to match salary. AKA, if a trade is going to down, it won't be until around the NBA trade deadline, since the Miami Heat actually have a couple of things to look out for when it comes to trading for Chris Paul. First and foremost, they'll be able to look at Chris Paul of the Oklahoma City Thunder, see how he's doing, and determine whether or not he has enough in the tank to propel them to the top of the Eastern Conference. But not only that, the Miami Heat will now have time to identify the holes and the weaknesses of their own roster before making any substantial trades. And should the trade deadline approach, if the Miami Heat still feel like Chris Paul is that guy, is the piece that they could use to help them compete with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference, that's when they will reopen negotiations with the OKC Thunder. Till then though, it's all about the waiting game. So any Miami Heat fans out there, just gotta have a little more patience. Next up in the news, while the Miami Heat currently have their attention on bringing Chris Paul aboard should they need the additional help this season, just about every championship contender in the league has their eyes fixated on a different prize, adding veteran wingman and former Finals MVP Andre Iguodala to their roster. Only problem is that Iggy is currently tied up with the Memphis Grizzlies, a relationship that seemingly only gets worse by the day. And this story actually starts off early in the summer when Iggy was sent to Memphis by the Warriors right after Golden State was informed of Durant's plans to sign with the Brooklyn Nets. And after that, the consensus was that Iguodala was immediately going to be bought out and then signed with a team like the Los Angeles Clippers in order for him to have the opportunity to win one more ring before possibly retiring at the end of the season. Only problem with that though is the fact that the Grizzlies are unwilling to buy out Iguodala without him taking a substantial cut on the $17 million that he is owed this year. The Grizzlies flat out refuse to pay Iguodala that much money just so he can go sign with a contending team, since it would have absolutely no benefit for the Grizzlies themselves. So instead, they have been testing the trade market and seeing if they can get something in return for the 35-year-old. However, as you may have been able to guess, though championship contenders may salivate at the idea of adding Iggy to their roster, they don't necessarily want to take on the responsibility of paying him the $17 million that he is owed either. And the fact that Iguodala recently said that he isn't in a position in his career where he's willing to leave money on the table only further complicates the situation, especially since Iggy and the Grizzlies are both on the same side when it comes to neither of them really wants Iggy to play for Memphis, since the Grizzlies will be more focused on developing their young players and Iggy wants to end his career on his own terms. And that is why we got reports out yesterday saying that the two sides came to an agreement that Iguodala doesn't have to attend the team's training camp next week. Iguodala has to have no parts with the Memphis Grizzlies when it comes to playing for them, and instead, the Grizzlies have said that Iguodala is granted the freedom to continue his training wherever he wants. The dude doesn't even have to be in Memphis. He doesn't have to travel with the team. Nothing like that. With that being said though, this whole Iggy situation will be a very long and drawn out process, and honestly, it seems that the only way Iguodala will get his wish of ending his career on his own terms is if he's willing to sacrifice a majority of the $17 million that he's owed, since Memphis has no incentive to just pay him that money up front, and no other team in the league thinks it's worth it to trade for him at that price either. Also in the news, over the past few years, it's been nearly impossible to deny the fact that a couple of teams have consistently been doubted when it came to whether or not they could live up to the expectations that were being placed on them. One of those teams being the Houston Rockets and the other being the Oklahoma City Thunder. While James Harden and Russell Westbrook have been spectacular talents to watch during the regular season, their inability to get it done when it matters the most in the postseason has cast a huge shadow of doubt over whether or not they have what it takes to get the job done. And it seems that this season will be no different, except for the fact that no one is having doubts over the Thunder now that both of these players are on the Houston Rockets. As we got reports out yesterday from various anonymous NBA coaches and scouts talking about their concerns for the pairing of James Harden and Russell Westbrook on the Houston Rockets this upcoming season. Here's a look at some of what they had to say. First up, you have one Western Conference assistant coach who predicts the Rockets to finish no higher than the 5th seed in the West this year, as he said, the rest of the West is better than it was last year, and that's the big problem. They're not better than the Lakers or the Clippers. They're not better than Utah or Denver. They're maybe better than Portland. Who knows how the Warriors will look? So you're looking at number 6 seed, maybe number 5 at best, or 7 to 8 at worst. And another Western Conference scout was quick to point out the more obvious, the fact that both of these players absolutely need the ball in their hands, and using Westbrook as an off-ball player, maybe spotting up for some open threes, doesn't sound like the best idea, since Westbrook has never been a great shooter in his career. Maybe if you can get Russ to stand in the corner and take threes from there while Harden works, that could help the situation, but he does not do that. He's not a bad corner shooter, but you can only get those corner shots by standing still, and Russ does not stand still on the floor. I understand they think they can get him wide open looks, but he is not a very good shooter, even with wide open looks. The article also went on to give more reasons as to why we should be skeptical of how good the Rockets will be this year too, mentioning things like Harden and Russ preferring to play at a different pace, Westbrook being a downgrade defensively from Chris Paul, and even questioning whether or not the friendship of Russ and Harden would begin to deteriorate should things not go so smoothly. These doubts though are nothing that Harden and Westbrook haven't heard in their careers before, and honestly, even if the two of them combined never win an NBA championship, it doesn't mean that they weren't great players. You cannot deny the greatness of these two players over what we have witnessed thus far in their careers. And history has also shown us countless times that not everyone can win, as legends such as Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and many more who are regarded as all-time greats were never able to reach the top of the summit during their time playing in the league either. Still though, this isn't me saying that it's out of the question or impossible for Harden and Westbrook to win a championship. I'm just saying that if they don't at any point in their careers, that it shouldn't matter that much. They're both still legendary, historic players. Now though, for what will be our final story of the day. The Phoenix Suns are a team that has been stuck at the bottom of the NBA for a while now. Regardless of the fact that they had one of the best shooting guards in the league for the past few years in Devin Booker as well. We did expect this to change a bit last year though, after the Suns drafted DeAndre Aten with the #1 overall pick. However, our expectations for Phoenix to improve now that Booker had some help never quite came to fruition, as the Suns somehow managed to win even fewer games than they did the year before. And with that being the case, it's no surprise that even though the Suns did make some changes to the personnel on their roster this summer, that the Suns are once again expected to be one of the worst teams in the league. Unless a variety of things happen in favor of the Suns. One of which being if DeAndre Aten builds even further upon the great rookie season that he had last year, something that he is naturally expected to do, being the #1 overall pick of such a high quality draft. But not only that, it's something that very well could happen if recent reports hold true. And these are reports saying that despite Aten playing all of his time at the center position last year, the Suns are open to the idea of playing DeAndre Aten at the power forward spot this upcoming year. As we got reports from Phoenix Suns general manager James Jones saying, "This year we have Frank Kaminsky, Dario Saric, Cheick Diallo, and we can play DeAndre Aten at power forward if we need to with Aaron Baines as our center. We have a lot of depth at that position." And yesterday, Aten went on a local Phoenix radio station to discuss his glee over the idea of playing power forward once again, as he said that he was born and raised to be a power forward in the NBA. Now, even though you might look at DeAndre Aten and see someone who for sure looks like a center in the NBA since he has the height, weight, and strength necessary to be a center in the NBA, we do have to remember that during his time playing college basketball, Aten was a power forward, which allowed him to roam the perimeter a lot more freely than he was able to do with the Suns last year. In college, Aten was able to shoot 34% from three-point land. However, in his first year with the Suns, Aten was only able to attempt a total of 4 three-pointers and missed all 4. So this could be like a very Anthony Davis type situation. We all know AD is very capable of playing the center, but the dude prefers to play the power forward spot. And Aten returning to the position that he feels most comfortable playing with could potentially go a long way in actually helping the Phoenix Suns win some games this upcoming season. That's it though. That's actually going to cover everything that we have to talk about today. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, once again, go ahead and make sure that you destroy that like button, as well as make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with post notification on so you don't miss out on future videos. Like I said at the beginning, I will be doing a live stream tomorrow starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So really make sure that you're looking out for that. But with all of that being said, thank you once again for watching. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, but until tomorrow, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!